What if I told you that the most explosive Hollywood scandal of the year didn't begin with a leaked email, a dramatic tabloid headline, or even a disgruntled actor, but with a trembling assistant whispering 4 words that changed everything? She recorded all of it. But before we continue, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell for updates. Those 4 words, that shaky voice, that moment when a hidden truth, one everyone felt but no one dared to speak, finally clawed its way to the surface. This is where our story begins. Not in a courtroom, not in front of flashing cameras, not even inside a studio boardroom surrounded by executives in tailored suits pretending everything was fine while quietly panicking behind the scenes. No, it starts in a hallway. A cold, fluorescent hallway inside Amazon MGM Studios where dreams are supposed to be made, deals are supposed to be celebrated, and stars are supposed to shine. But on this day, the hallway felt different, thick, tense, almost electric. Like it knew something was coming. Like it could sense a crack forming in the carefully polished shell of Hollywood's power structure. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately felt that something was off? That inexplicable shift in the air, that heaviness you can't quite name, that strange instinct telling you to pay attention? That's exactly the atmosphere director Jason Orley stepped into that morning. He had no idea he was about to be pulled into the center of a storm, one that would challenge his ethics, test his courage, and drag him into a battle he never wanted, but could no longer avoid. And at the very center of that storm, the star he had been hired to direct, Meghan. In our fictional universe, Meghan was not just another celebrity attached to a high-budget Amazon MGM project. She was the face of a massive marketing campaign, the studio's prized acquisition. A global icon with an army of supporters, critics, journalists, and paparazzi orbiting her like planets around a sun. Some worshipped her, some feared her, but everyone paid attention to her. Jason knew this. Everyone did, which is why the staff's panicked whispers made his stomach drop. When he turned the corner and saw 3 interns huddled together, eyes wide and faces pale, he didn't even need to ask what happened. He already knew who was involved, but he didn't know everything. Not yet. The intern stepped aside as he approached the editing bay, a room that should have been filled with creative energy, laughter, and excitement. Instead, there was silence, a chilling silence. Inside sat Emily, the assistant whose trembling voice would later echo across Hollywood. She clutched a USB drive like it was a live grenade. She recorded all of it. She repeated, and this time Jason heard the part she didn't say out loud. And now you have to see it. But let's rewind. Because every scandal has a build-up, and this one was months in the making. Have you ever noticed how some people enter a room and instantly change the atmosphere? Some bring warmth. Others bring chaos. Our fictional Meghan brought pressure. Wait, an intensity that made the walls themselves feel smaller. And for weeks, that pressure had been quietly building. Under desks, behind polite smiles, inside closed-door meetings. At first, the complaints were subtle. She snapped at me for bringing the wrong binder. She threw a script at the wall. She said my face was distracting her. She made an intern cry on her first day. Nothing serious on its own. Nothing that Hollywood hadn't excused before. But together, a pattern was forming. Still, Jason tried to remain professional. He told himself every production had tension. Every set had its difficult moments. The show had to go on. But then something else happened. Something no one expected. A mistake. A simple, almost forgettable error by a junior staff member that triggered a volcanic response from Meghan. A response so explosive it forced Emily to secretly reach for her phone and hit record. Why did she do it? Fear, frustration, desperation, maybe all 3. But what mattered most was what she captured. And she wasn't the only one. Unbeknownst to everyone on the team, including Meghan, Amazon MGM Studios had quietly installed small, discreet security cameras in several production areas following a string of unrelated incidents the year before. They weren't hidden for spying. Not at all. They were simply standard studio safety precautions. But on this day, those cameras became witnesses. Witnesses no one expected. Witnesses no one could silence. But here's the thing about truth. It doesn't disappear just because someone wants it to. It lingers. It festers. It waits. And eventually, it finds a way out. Jason didn't know any of this yet. He didn't know there were 2 recordings, one shaky and emotional, the other crisp and high definition. He didn't know those recordings would one day threaten to take down the entire production. He didn't know they would drag him into the center of a legal firestorm that would redefine his career. All he knew in that moment was that something had gone terribly, irreversibly wrong. He looked at Emily. Her hands trembled. Her breathing was rapid. Her eyes were red-rimmed from crying. "What's on the drive?" he asked quietly. Emily swallowed hard. You need to see it yourself. Have you ever watched a video that made your heart race, your palms sweat, and your stomach twist? Not because of gore, violence, or action, but because you knew you were watching the moment a life changed forever? That's what Jason was about to witness. He plugged in the drive. The screen lit up. The first frame was blurry. Emily's phone shaking in her hand as she tried to stay hidden. The audio crackled, but the voice was unmistakable. Sharp, cold, cutting. The second clip, that was the one that froze Jason in place. Studio-quality clarity. A camera angle none of them even remembered existed. A moment that stripped away the Hollywood shine and revealed something raw, harsh, and undeniable. Jason watched in silence. He didn't blink. He didn't breathe. He didn't move. And when the clip ended, he knew, deep down, undeniably, that this wasn't something he could ignore. This wasn't something he could cover up. This wasn't something he could report internally and hope it resolved quietly. No, this was something else entirely. Something that demanded action. Something that demanded accountability. But Jason also knew something else. Taking action meant war. A war with a star powerful enough to influence media narratives. A war with a PR machine capable of burying stories and destroying reputations. A war with executives who valued profits, partnerships, and public perception more than truth. And yet, he couldn't look away. Have you ever been faced with a choice so heavy that no matter which path you choose, you lose something? Your peace, your career, your relationships, your entire sense of safety? That's where Jason now stood, at the crossroads of integrity and survival. The air in the room felt suffocating. Cold. Still. Emily finally broke the silence. What do we do now? Jason didn't answer. Not because he didn't care, but because he genuinely had no idea. All he knew was this. Nothing would ever be the same. And the moment the studio found out what he had just watched, the real chaos would begin. Because powerful people don't panic over rumors. They panic over evidence. And this was evidence. Evidence strong enough to ignite a scandal Hollywood hadn't seen in years. Evidence that would push Jason into a courtroom facing a celebrity who never backed down from a fight. Evidence that would turn a director into a whistleblower and a studio into a battlefield. But before Jason could take the first step, before he could even begin to process what he'd seen, something happened that would escalate everything. Fast. A phone buzzed. A notification. A message from an unknown number. And when Jason tapped it open, he felt the blood drain from his face. Because somehow, impossibly, someone else had the video. The day everything snapped didn't begin with a fight, a meltdown, or a corporate emergency meeting. It began with silence. A strange, unnatural silence inside Amazon MGM Studios that felt so heavy, so weighted, so utterly wrong. It made even the humming of the air conditioner sound like a warning. And then, out of nowhere, came the scream. Not a dramatic Hollywood scream. Not a theatrical cry meant for cameras. This was something sharper. Realer, close range, and unfiltered. A scream that made 3 interns drop their coffee cups at the same time. A scream that sliced through the hallway like a blade. A scream that made everyone in earshot turn and stare. Have you ever heard a sound that told you everything was about to change, even before you knew what happened? That's what this scream was. A signal. A rupture. A crack bursting open in a place built on tight schedules, polished smiles, and silence. Jason Orley wasn't even in the building when it happened. He was across the street, walking back from a cafe, juggling an iced Americano, a breakfast sandwich, and a stack of revised script notes. He was thinking about camera angles, lighting tests, and whether the next scene needed a softer emotional beat. He wasn't thinking about Meghan. Not yet. He wasn't thinking about the staff. He wasn't thinking about the storm that was about to swallow him whole. But the moment he stepped into the glass front lobby, he knew something was off. The receptionist didn't greet him. The production coordinator didn't wave. Security didn't even look up. Everyone was frozen, like statues in a museum of fear. Jason blinked. "What's going on?" he asked. No one answered. Instead, every pair of eyes drifted to the hallway on the right. The hallway leading to stage 4, where Meghan was rehearsing. He didn't hear the scream, but he could feel it. The way sound leaves a vibration in the air, a ghost of itself. A production assistant hurried past him without making eye contact. "Hey, hold on," Jason called. She froze mid-step, turned slowly. Her face was pale, her eyes glassy. She's furious," the assistant whispered. "Who?" Jason asked, though he already knew. The assistant swallowed hard. "Meghan. And she's not calming down this time." Jason felt his stomach tighten. Not because he expected the worst, but because this wasn't the first time he'd heard something like that. This was becoming a pattern, a rhythm, a cycle, but something about today felt different. He set the coffee on the reception desk and started down the hallway, the soles of his shoes echoing louder than they should have in a studio full of people too scared to move. "Where is everyone?" he muttered. But the question wasn't for anyone in particular. It was for the universe. He reached stage 4. The door was halfway open, and the first thing he saw wasn't Meghan, or a crowd, or equipment thrown across the floor. It was Emily, the same assistant from the introduction, standing stiff as a board, her phone in her hand, her breathing shallow, her eyes glistening with tears. She wasn't filming now. She had already filmed. Jason didn't know that yet. "Emily," he said softly, "talk to me. What happened?" She didn't answer at first. She just pointed into the room. Jason stepped inside. The atmosphere was boiling. Not literally. The studio was kept at a cool 69 degrees, but emotionally. There are rooms that feel like they're vibrating from tension. This one felt like it was shattering. Meghan stood in the center, pacing. Her movements sharp, aggressive, like a blade slashing through the air. Two interns stood against the back wall, their hands trembling, their eyes lowered. A production manager, Jeff, stood near the props table, his face red, not from anger, but embarrassment. Shame. Jason scanned the room. It looked normal. Nothing broken. Nothing overturned. Nothing catastrophic. But the emotional debris was everywhere. He approached cautiously. "Meghan," he said, voice calm. "Is everything okay?" She spun around. The look she gave him didn't belong to the glamorous, polished star the public adored. It was raw, unfiltered, a wildfire in human form. "Is everything okay?" She repeated, voice dripping with sarcasm. "No, Jason. Everything is not okay. Your staff is incompetent." Silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. Jason glanced at Emily. She shook her head slowly, as if telling him not to push, not to question, not to make this worse. But he had to. He was the director. He couldn't stand there like another terrified statue. "What happened?" he asked gently. Meghan jabbed a finger at Jeff. "He handed me the wrong script." Again. Jason exhaled. A slow, tired exhale. A mistake. A human mistake. Nothing worth a meltdown. But Meghan wasn't done. "And then," she continued, voice rising, "that in turn dropped my notes. My notes. The only copy I annotated for the day." The intern's shoulders shook. Jason closed his eyes for a moment. "Okay," he said quietly. "We can fix that." "No," Meghan snapped. "You don't get it. This isn't something you fix. This is disrespect. This is sabotage." Sabotage. That word hung in the air like poison. Jason looked at the interns. They were barely 19. New. Terrified. Barely able to breathe. He stepped closer to Meghan. "Let's take a moment," he said. "Let's step outside and breathe." "No," she snapped. "Handle it. Handle it." 2 words. Sharp enough to slice. She didn't want resolution. She wanted punishment. She wanted fear. Jason's jaw tightened. "Meghan," he said carefully, "they made a mistake. It happens." Her eyes flashed like gunpowder catching a spark. "And I'm tired of excuses. I come here to work. To create. To perform. And your staff is dragging me down. Your staff. Not the production team. Not the studio crew. Your staff. Meaning, your problem, your responsibility, your failure." And then she said the line that would replay in staff whisper circles for weeks. "If they can't keep up with someone at my level, they shouldn't be here." Jeff lowered his head. The interns stared at the floor. Emily clutched her phone, where the recording was still saved, like a lifeline. Jason forced himself to stay calm. "Let's reset," he said softly. "We can pick this up after lunch." "No," Meghan said again. But this time, her voice was different. Colder. More controlled. I'm not going anywhere until you fire them. Jason felt the temperature drop inside his chest. Fire them? For what? For a script swap. For a dropped folder. For being young. He didn't move. He didn't speak. Meghan stepped closer. You heard me, she said. Get rid of them. Right now. Emily gasped. The interns flinched. Jeff stepped back. Jason spoke slowly, carefully. I'm not firing anyone today. Meghan tilted her head. Excuse me. I said. Jason repeated. I'm not firing anyone today. There are moments in life when silence becomes dangerous. This was one of those moments. Meghan's eyes hardened. Her jaw clenched. Jason felt the shift before anyone else did. The moment irritation turned into something darker. Something personal. You're making a big mistake, she whispered. Jason didn't respond. He couldn't. If he said anything, he'd explode. If he exploded, he'd lose everything. Meghan turned away from him. Fine, she said. If you won't protect the production, I will. She walked toward the exit. A quiet, deadly calm settled over the room. But then, just as she reached the door, she paused, turned back, and said in a voice cold enough to frost glass, I'll handle this my way. Then she left. The door slammed behind her. The echo traveled down the hallway like a shockwave. Jason stood frozen. Emily finally spoke. Jason, she whispered, there's something I need to show you. He turned to her. What is it? Her hands shook as she held out the phone. I recorded it. Jason stared at her. You recorded this? No, not just this. All of it. Everything she said. Everything she did. Everything she's been doing. Jeff's eyes widened. The intern stopped breathing. In that moment, Jason felt the world tilt. This is serious, he said. Emily nodded, tears filling her eyes. I know, but it's worse than you think. Jason swallowed hard. What do you mean? Emily stepped closer. You need to see the other recording, she whispered. The one from the studio camera. Jason's heart stopped. What other recording? The one she doesn't know exists. Jason felt a chill run down his spine. Emily held out the USB drive. This, she said, is what's going to change everything. And before Jason could respond, before he could ask, question, or even comprehend the weight of what she'd just said, someone outside the door screamed again. This time, it wasn't fear. It was panic. The scream outside the door didn't sound like Meghan's earlier eruption. Angry, sharp, ego-driven. This one was something else. Shrill, frightened, a warning. Jason whipped around as a stagehand barreled down the hallway, his headset dangling around his neck like it was choking him. She's coming back, the stagehand shouted. Everyone in the room stiffened. Who? Jeff asked, though the answer was painfully obvious. Her, the stagehand panted. And she's not alone. Jason felt his pulse jump. It was too soon. Meghan never came back this quickly. Not after an outburst like that. Not unless she wanted something. Or someone. He looked at Emily, whose fingers curled tighter around the USB drive. We don't have much time, she whispered. Time for what? Jason muttered. To show you this before she finds out, Emily said. Before she finds out. Those words spread through the room like a gust of cold wind. Before she finds out. Jeff closed the stage door quietly, his face suddenly serious. The interns exchanged nervous glances, but nobody said a word. What's on that USB? Jason asked. You said the studio camera recorded something? Emily nodded slowly. Jason frowned. There aren't any cameras in stage 4. She shook her head. No, not in stage 4. In the corridor. The one right outside the green room. Jason froze. The green room. That hallway. That infamous hallway. Anyone who worked in the building knew that hallway was cursed. Not by anything supernatural, but by the sheer number of arguments, confrontations, and meltdowns that had erupted there over the years. It was the space where talent cooled off, or, more often, heated up, where executives whispered secrets, where agents negotiated, where reputations were made and destroyed, and where Meghan had her first major clash with the staff 2 weeks ago. Jason didn't know much about the incident. No one did. Only hushed rumors cut into pieces. Raised voices. A thrown binder. Someone crying in the bathroom afterward. But no one could prove anything. Not until now. Why was there a camera in that hallway? Jason asked. Emily's shoulders lifted helplessly. Security reasons. Last year there were break-ins during a night shoot. They installed temporary cameras. Management forgot to take some down. Forgot. The word hung in the air. This was Hollywood. No one forgot cameras. Not unless forgetting benefited someone. Jason exhaled slowly. Does Meghan know about the camera? She has no idea, Emily said. No one does. Except the IT guy who gave me this. She held up the USB drive. Jason's eyebrows shot up. The IT guy? Emily nodded. His name is Marcus. He said he couldn't give it to the executives. He didn't trust them. He knew it would be deleted. Of course, executives didn't handle scandals. They buried them. And he gave it to you? Jason asked. Emily gave a weak shrug. He said it was the right thing, that someone needed to see what really happened. Jason ran a hand through his hair. This was getting worse by the second. The scream outside grew louder. Jason took a step toward the door, but Emily grabbed his arm. Please, she whispered. Just watch this first. Emily, you need to see it, Jason. You need to know what she's capable of. The desperation in her voice made his chest tighten. He nodded once. Okay, play it. She didn't waste a second. She plugged the drive into a nearby laptop that was still warm from the morning's rehearsals. The screen lit up instantly. A folder. 2 files. One labeled CM04_GRNRM_hallway. The other, timestamp_log. Start with the video, Emily said. Jason clicked. The footage opened to a narrow hallway. White walls, fluorescent lights, 2 closed doors, and a rack of costumes shoved against the wall. Nothing unusual. Nothing concerning. Just another day in a studio. Until the door on the right burst open. Meghan stormed out, her expression thunderous, hair slightly disheveled, script pages clenched in her fist like a weapon. Behind her, a staff member stumbled out, one Jason recognized. Riley, one of the most level-headed production assistants on the team. Calm, professional, never caused trouble. Riley looked terrified. Jason's breath caught. Meghan spun around so fast the camera barely caught it. What was that? She snapped. Riley stammered something inaudible. Speak up, Meghan barked. Riley flinched. I didn't mean to. Didn't mean to what? Meghan hissed, stepping closer, invading Riley's space. Didn't mean to disrespect me? Didn't mean to embarrass me? Didn't mean to sabotage my scene. Riley shook their head rapidly. No. I swear, the lighting wasn't my fault, the tech. Oh, the lighting? Meghan interrupted with a mocking laugh. So now you're blaming the lighting team? Blaming someone else because you can't do your job? Riley's hands trembled. I wasn't blaming anyone. I was just explaining. Explaining? Meghan scoffed. You think I want explanations? I want competency. I want professionalism. I want people who know how to work in the industry, not amateurs who cry the moment things get tough. Riley looked down. Meghan leaned closer. Look at me when I'm talking to you. Riley's eyes lifted, glassy with humiliation. Pathetic, Meghan muttered. Jason's jaw clenched. He felt heat rising in his chest. Anger. Disbelief. A sickening shock that twisted his stomach. The camera kept rolling. Riley tried again, voice softer. I'm sorry, I didn't want to upset you. You didn't want to upset me? Meghan said, voice suddenly cold. Then don't screw up. Don't make excuses. Don't come into my space unless you know what you're doing. Riley stepped back. Meghan stepped forward. You're fired. Riley froze. Jason froze. Everyone in the room froze. What? Riley whispered. You heard me, Meghan said. Get your bag. You're fired. But I don't think you can fire me, Riley said softly. I work for the studio. Meghan's eyes narrowed. Oh, sweetheart, she said. I can do anything I want. Jason felt his heart drop. But the clip wasn't over. Riley shook their head, tears forming. I didn't do anything wrong. Oh, you did, Meghan snapped. You wasted my time. And that's unforgivable. Riley tried to walk away. Meghan grabbed their arm. Everyone in the editing room flinched. Jason muttered a curse under his breath. The camera caught everything. Meghan pulling Riley back. Riley stumbling. Meghan's voice rising again. The script pages hitting the floor. The shove. The second shove. The moment Riley hit the wall. Emily covered her mouth. The intern scrambled back. Jeff's eyes widened. Jason felt the world tilt. The hallway in the video went quiet except for Riley's muffled crying. Meghan walked away without looking back, calling out over her shoulder. And don't even think about filing a complaint. You won't win. The clip ended. Silence. No one spoke. No one moved. Jason's hands trembled. This is bad, he whispered. Emily nodded. tears slipping down her cheeks. "That's not all," she whispered. Jason looked at her sharply. "There's more." Emily opened the timestamp log. It didn't just happen once. It happened multiple times. Different days, different staff, different incidents. Jason stared at the screen. "It's a pattern," Emily said quietly. "A dangerous one." Jason staggered backward, needing air. This went far beyond a tense moment on set. This was a clear, documented record of behavior that could destroy lives and careers. He steadied himself. "Does anyone else know about this?" Emily shook her head. "Marcus and me. That's it. He wanted you to have it because you're the only one who might actually do something." Jason felt a surge of pressure building in his chest. "So he trusts me," he said. "No," Emily corrected gently. "He trusts that you're the only one who won't let it disappear." Heavy silence. Jason swallowed hard. "What about the scream we just heard?" Jeff asked. "Is she coming back to finish what she started?" As if on cue, the pounding footsteps outside the door grew louder. Closer. More urgent. The interns backed up toward the props shelf. Jeff moved to block them instinctively. Emily's breath hitched. Jason took a step toward the door, heart pounding. "What now?" he whispered. A shadow swept past the hallway window. Someone tried the door handle. Twisted it. Jiggled it. Jason's chest tightened. Then the voice came. "She knows." It wasn't Meghan's voice. It wasn't angry. It wasn't aggressive. It was terrified. And it came from someone Jason never expected. The voice on the other side of the door didn't belong to Meghan, nor to security, nor to an angry executive demanding to know who locked a stage door during work hours. It belonged to Marcus, the IT guy, the same Marcus who handed Emily the USB, the same Marcus who had seen the footage before anyone else, the same Marcus who should have been safely tucked away in the basement server room, not panting in the hallway like someone was chasing him. Jason's pulse spiked. Emily rushed to the door, unlocked it, and flung it open. Marcus stumbled in, his face drenched in sweat, his shirt clinging to his back. His glasses were crooked. His hands trembled violently. So violently it looked like he was freezing, but he wasn't cold. He was terrified. Jason grabbed him by the shoulders. "Marcus, what's going on?" Marcus swallowed hard. She's looking for me," he whispered, breathless. Someone told her the footage exists." The words landed like punches. Jeff cursed under his breath. One intern dropped their clipboard. The other whispered, "How did she find out?" Emily's face drained of color. Jason didn't speak right away. He couldn't. His mind was spinning too fast, too violently. If Meghan discovered the hallway footage existed, if she knew Marcus saw it, if she knew it wasn't in the hands of executives, then this wasn't just a bad day. This was war. Marcus wiped sweat from his brow. "She stormed into the server room," he choked out. "She demanded access logs. She told me she's aware of unauthorized file movement. I didn't even know she knew that phrase. I don't know who told her. Someone must have tipped her off." Emily whispered, "Oh God." Jason steadied Marcus. "Did she see anything?" he asked. "No," Marcus said. "I told her the server crashed. I lied. But she didn't believe me. And then she asked if anyone else had touched the footage." "And you said?" Jason asked cautiously. Marcus gave a hollow, painful laugh. "What do you think?" I panicked. I told her no, but I don't think she believed me. The way she looked at me, it felt like she was looking through me, like she already knew. Emily closed her eyes. "Someone must have told her," she said. "Someone in this building knew we had it. And they're trying to save themselves," Jeff added. Marcus shook his head. "It doesn't matter," he said. "She's furious. More furious than I've ever seen her. I heard her screaming at her manager in the hallway. Something about taking back control. Something about handling the problem. Something about no one humiliates me." Everyone in the room tensed. Those weren't the words of someone slightly upset. Those were the words of someone who felt threatened, cornered, exposed, and dangerous. Jason took a deep breath. "Okay," he said slowly. "We stay calm. We handle this logically. We." A loud crash echoed through the hallway. Everyone froze. "What was that?" one of the interns whispered. Marcus glanced toward the door. "She's searching rooms," he whispered. "She thinks someone is hiding something." Emily clutched the USB tighter. Jason knew exactly what they needed to do next. But before he spoke, Marcus stumbled forward. "You don't understand," Marcus said, voice cracking. I didn't just watch that one clip. I saw everything. Everything. Jason asked. Marcus nodded, eyes haunted. There are more incidents. More footage. More confrontations. The camera caught things no one else saw. The room fell into suffocating silence. Then Marcus whispered something that sent a chill through everyone. She's done this before. Repeatedly. To different staff. On different days. And the footage, Jason, it's bad. Really bad. Jason felt the air tighten around him, as if the walls themselves were listening. Show me, he said quietly. Marcus hesitated. We don't have much time. Show me. Jason repeated, firmer. Marcus opened his backpack and pulled out another USB. This one red instead of black. This one has the rest, he whispered. Emily gasped. Jason blinked. Jeff stepped closer. The rest. Jason echoed. How much is there? Marcus shut his eyes tightly. Hours. A slow, heavy dread seeped through the room. Hours. Hours of recorded behavior. Hours of interactions. Hours of moments that were never meant to be seen. Hours of a pattern that now looked intentional. Jason pressed his fingers into his temples. Why didn't you go to HR with this? He asked. Marcus let out a bitter, broken laugh. HR. He shook his head. You mean the department that's terrified of upsetting talent? The department that's been trained to de-escalate instead of document? The department that deletes complaints before executives even see them? Emily whispered, he's right. Marcus continued. I tried to report one clip. They told me to stop fabricating drama. They told me not to misinterpret tension. They told me to focus on my role and leave talent relations to the professionals. He swallowed hard. Then they made me sign a confidentiality form. Jason clenched his jaw. It made sense. Too much sense. Hollywood didn't protect the vulnerable. It protected the valuable. And in their fictional universe, Meghan was extremely valuable. Jason closed the door, locking it. He turned toward everyone. Okay, he said, slow but firm. We watch. All of it. Right now. No one argued. Emily pulled the laptop closer. Marcus plugged in the red drive. Jeff dimmed the overhead lights. The interns huddled behind the props shelf like children hiding during a thunderstorm. Jason leaned in, bracing himself. The screen flickered. A timestamp appeared. 3 weeks ago. Hallway outside the wardrobe room. The clip began. Meghan stormed down the hallway, followed closely by a stylist carrying a garment bag. Does this color look like something I would wear? Meghan barked. The stylist stammered. I thought the gold would complement. Gold. Meghan cut in. Gold washes me out. Gold is for extras. Gold is for background silhouettes. Not for me. Do you understand that? The stylist swallowed, nodding quickly. Why, yes. Of course. Meghan leaned in. And if you ever bring me something that hideous again, you won't work in this town for a decade. Am I clear? The stylist nodded again, too quickly. The clip ended. Marcus clicked the next one. 2 weeks ago. Behind the soundstage. Meghan cornered a lighting tech. I told you the spotlight makes me squint. Why are you trying to sabotage my scene? Do you want me to look ridiculous on camera? The tech tried to explain, but Meghan cut him off with a sharp hand wave. I don't care. Fix it. Now. Next clip. Last week. Inside the production office. Meghan leaned over a script supervisor, her voice icy. If you ever hand me a draft with typos again, I'll make sure you never work on a major project. You think this is funny? You think my time is a joke? The woman blinked hard, fighting tears. Marcus played another, then another, and another. Each one worse. Each one more targeted. More aggressive. More personal. Jason felt something inside him unravel. He had seen difficult actors. He had seen stress-induced meltdowns. He had seen tension escalate during production crunches. But this was systematic. This was intentional. This was cruelty disguised as high standards. Emily finally whispered what everyone was thinking. She broke them, one by one. Jason felt his breath catch. But then, as the next clip loaded, everything shifted. The timestamp was yesterday. The location, script storage. The camera angle, perfect. The scene, Meghan and someone else. Not staff. Not an intern. Not a tech. Someone Jason never expected. Someone he trusted. Someone who should have protected the team. Someone whispering into Meghan's ear. Yes. I saw them looking at the server logs. I think they know. But don't worry. I'll take care of it. Jason's blood ran cold. Because the person on screen was a senior executive. One who oversaw multiple departments. One who had access to every system. One who had the power to destroy files, silence complaints, and rewrite narratives. Emily gasped. Marcus covered his mouth. Jeff cursed loudly. Jason stared at the screen, jaw slack. He felt something dark settle in his stomach. This wasn't just a difficult star. This wasn't just a hostile work environment. This was a partnership, a conspiracy, a coordinated effort to hide, manipulate, and control. And the executive's final words made Jason's skin crawl. Find out who has the footage. And if you have to scare them, do it. We can't let this get out. Jason leaned back, heart pounding. This wasn't a meltdown. This wasn't ego. This wasn't a bad day. This was intentional. And now they were all in danger. Before he could speak, a loud pounding shook the door. Hard, aggressive, relentless. Everyone jumped. I know you're in there, a voice shouted. Not Meghan. Not the executive. Someone else. Someone angry. Someone who wanted in. Jason looked at Emily. Emily looked at Marcus. Marcus whispered, "They're coming for the footage." And then, the doorknob twisted. The pounding on the door didn't stop. It grew louder, heavier, more desperate. Each strike rattled the hinges, sending tremors through the production room like a warning shot. Or a countdown. Someone wanted in. Badly. And Jason knew, without a shadow of a doubt, that whoever that was didn't plan on having a calm conversation. The interns cowered behind the props shelf. Emily clutched her phone like it was the last safe thing she owned. Marcus backed into a corner, mumbling something too soft to hear. Jeff hovered near the laptops, frozen between fear and instinct. The pounding intensified. "Open the door," the voice shouted. "You can't hide in there forever." Jason stepped forward, heart hammering. He had to take control. He was the director. He was the only one in the room who had any authority, even if his authority was hanging by a thread. He motioned for everyone to stay quiet and raised a finger to his lips. Silence fell. The voice outside growled, "I know what you took." A jolt of fear shot through the group. Marcus's breath caught. Emily's eyes widened. Jason felt his pulse spike. They knew. They knew someone had the footage. And whatever was happening outside that door was no longer a misunderstanding. No longer a coincidence. No longer someone randomly checking rooms. This was a search. A hunt. Jason's instincts screamed at him. They needed to move. Now. He turned to the group. "Back hallway exit," he whispered. "Everyone grab your things. Stay quiet. Move fast." Jeff nodded. The intern scrambled. Marcus nearly tripped over a cable. Emily tucked both USB drives into her pocket with shaking hands. Just as they reached the back door, the pounding on the front one stopped abruptly, and a new sound took its place. Silence. Cold, eerie silence. Then, a soft click, followed by the slow, unmistakable creak of the front door handle turning. Jason's blood froze. They had unlocked it. "Go," he hissed, pushing everyone through the back exit. They slipped into a dim service corridor lined with storage crates and unplugged lighting rigs. The door closed softly behind them. Jason pulled it until it latched, quietly, carefully. He held his breath. He heard the front door open on the other side. He could hear footsteps entering the room. Slow, deliberate, predatory. Then a voice. Low, dangerous, too calm. "Where are you?" Jason backed away from the door. He couldn't risk waiting any longer. He turned to the group. "We're going to Studio Office D," he said. "It's the only place with a lock they can't override." "And then what?" Emily whispered. "We figure out our next move." Our next move. The phrase didn't feel strong enough. Because whatever this had become, it was bigger than a meltdown, bigger than a damaged relationship, bigger than a difficult star. This was a cover-up, a coordinated one. And now they were in its crosshairs. The staff who couldn't stay silent anymore. Office D was tucked far from the main rehearsal rooms, a cramped leftover space used mostly for storage and emergency script rewrites. Jason closed the blinds and locked the door. Only then did he finally let himself breathe. "Okay," he said. "Talk. All of you. Tell me everything she's been doing. Everything you've seen. Everything you couldn't say until now." At first, no one spoke. Fear sat in the room like a living thing. But then something shifted. A kind of collective breaking point. And the silence fractured. Riley was the first to speak. The same Riley who had been shoved into the wall in the hallway footage. The same Riley who had not spoken a word since entering the room. They lifted their head. You want to know everything? Riley asked softly. Fine. I'll tell you. Jason nodded. Start from the beginning. Riley swallowed. The beginning was the first table read, they said. She didn't even look at us. Not once. When the script supervisor asked if she needed water, she said, I don't talk to stagehands. One intern flinched. Riley continued. Then during the second week, she started assigning tasks to us. Tasks that weren't ours. Tasks meant to test us. She'd drop a binder outside the green room and ask us to find it. In 5 seconds, when she was the one who hid it. Emily whispered, She did that to me too. Riley nodded. And anytime we didn't do things exactly the way she imagined in her head, even if she hadn't told us, she'd lash out. Not always in front of people. Sometimes she waited until we were alone. Jason leaned forward. Alone? Riley nodded again. She'd corner you. Use this voice. Quiet. Controlled. The kind that makes your stomach twist. She'd say things like, I hope you're not planning to ruin my work. Or, do you know how replaceable you are? One of the interns burst into tears. Jason's jaw tightened. Why didn't anyone report it? He asked gently. Riley let out a soft, humorless laugh. We did. All of us tried. HR shut it down. They said we were overreacting. That we needed to adjust to the pressure of working with talent. Emily nodded fiercely. They told me the same thing, she said. But then, things started getting worse. Jason turned to her. What do you mean? Emily's eyes glistened. She didn't like that I talked to you, even about normal work stuff. She'd pull me aside and say, I see everything. I know who you run to. She said I made her look weak. Jason felt something heavy settle in his chest. She was watching them, studying them, creating narratives in her head. And then, Emily continued. She told me I needed to remember my place, and that if I ever embarrassed her again. Emily swallowed hard. She'd make sure every director in Hollywood heard about it. A silence fell across the room. A heavy, suffocating silence. Marcus spoke next. She cornered me once too, he said quietly. In the server room. I didn't even mean to cross her path. But she saw me plugging in a backup drive and asked if I was spying on her. Marcus shook his head, eyes distant. I told her no, but she got in my face and said, People who betray me don't last long. I thought it was a joke. It wasn't, Jeff said grimly. Everyone looked at him. Jeff cleared his throat. You all know I've worked with talent for years, he said. I've seen meltdowns, egos, tantrums. It's Hollywood. It happens. He paused. But this is different. She's not reacting. She's targeting. A chill moved through the room. Jason rubbed the back of his neck. Why didn't anyone tell me sooner? He asked. Riley shrugged weakly. Because you're the director, they said. And directors protect talent. That's the rule. That's how this world works. Jason shook his head. That's not how I work. Riley looked up. Maybe not. But we weren't sure. And HR made it clear, talking would just make things worse. Emily added quietly. She made it clear too. Jason paced the room, frustration boiling. Fear. Silence. Intimidation. And for weeks, it had been happening under his nose. He turned back to them. Why now? He asked. Why did you finally decide to speak up? Emily met his eyes. Because Marcus gave me the footage, she said softly. And for the first time, we had proof. Real proof. Proof no one could bury. Marcus nodded. And when I saw everything, he said, voice shaking, I realized someone needed to stand up. Someone needed to stop it. The intern stepped forward, timid, but ready. One of them, a young man with trembling hands, whispered. She made me scrub her shoe once. In front of the extras. Because a speck of dust landed on it. Jason's chest tightened. The other intern added. She called me you for 3 weeks because she said learning our names was a waste of mental space. Riley's voice cracked. She broke us down slowly, bit by bit. And we kept quiet because that's what you do when someone powerful decides you're beneath them. Jason felt his throat tighten. These weren't just petty complaints. These were patterns. These were trauma stories. This was the aftermath of emotional violence. And the weight of it all landed on him like a crashing wave. He didn't protect them. He didn't see it. He didn't notice. But now he knew. And there was no going back. As he looked at the group, broken, frightened, but finally speaking. Something inside him hardened. Resolve. Determination. A fire he didn't know he still had. Okay, Jason said quietly. We're not staying silent anymore. But just as he said it, something hit the office door. Hard, like a body thrown against it. Everyone jumped. Then came another hit. Then another. Then the voice. Open up. Now. Jason's pulse skyrocketed. Emily grabbed his arm. Jason, she whispered, terrified. They found us. And then, someone tried the handle. It rattled violently. The lock shook. Jason stepped forward, adrenaline flooding every vein in his body. Who is it? He shouted. A chilling pause. Then a voice answered. Studio management. We need to talk. Right now. But Jason knew that voice. It wasn't management. It was the executive from the footage. The one conspiring with Meghan. And he wasn't here to talk. The pounding on Office D's door shook the entire frame, rattling the blinds and sending a jolt of panic through everyone in the room. This was no simple knock. This was no polite request. This was force, raw, urgent force, backed by authority and fear. Studio management, the voice repeated. But Jason didn't have to guess. He recognized that tone. The executive from the footage. The whispering conspirator. The one who promised Meghan he would take care of it. Jason's heart thudded in his chest. He stepped closer to the door, silently motioning for the others to stay back. Who is it? He called out, though he already knew. A pause. Then the voice came again, smoother this time, more composed, like a snake trying to sound like a house pet. It's Daniel, the voice said. Open the door. We need to clear something up. Daniel, senior manager of talent relations. One of the highest-ranking executives on the floor. The man who oversaw HR, contracts, and internal disputes. A man many staff quietly feared because of how effortlessly he buried complaints. Emily covered her mouth. Marcus took a step back. The interns clung to each other like they were bracing for impact. Jeff whispered, he's not here to talk. Jason agreed. Daniel's voice came again, colder this time. I know you're in there, Jason. Let's not make this difficult. Jason didn't answer. Instead, he leaned down and quietly whispered to the group. Everyone move away from the door. Now. They obeyed instantly. Jason's mind raced. He had two options. Let Daniel in. And risk losing everything. Evidence, witnesses, safety. Refuse to open. And escalate the confrontation with a man powerful enough to fire every person in the room before lunch. Neither option ended well. Another pounding strike hit the door, harder this time. Metal vibrated. The interns whimpered. Emily squeezed her eyes shut. Jason, Daniel's voice said, dangerously calm. If I have to get security involved, you're going to regret this. Jason clenched his fists. He had seen enough. He had heard enough. He had watched enough footage to know one thing. Daniel wasn't here to talk. Daniel was here to contain, to silence, to erase. And Jason would not let that happen. He raised his voice. We're in the middle of something, Daniel. Now's not a good time. Silence. Then, a laugh. A low, humorless laugh from the other side of the door. Jason, Daniel said. You really don't understand what you've stepped into. Jason stiffened. Open the door, Daniel continued. Now. Jason turned back to the group. We can't stay here. Where do we go? Emily whispered. Jason thought fast. Office D had one weakness, a single entrance. No windows. No ventilation hatch they could escape through. No secondary door. But there was one place that Daniel would never expect them to go. A place he assumed everyone avoided. The old editing archive, Jason whispered. Room B12. Marcus's eyes widened. The abandoned archive? They shut it down years ago. Exactly, Jason said. Which means they don't monitor the door codes. It's off-grid. Jeff nodded. Smart. But it's 3 floors down. We'll have to pass the main hallway. Jason inhaled. Then we go now, before Daniel decides to break the door. Emily whispered, but he'll hear us leaving. Jason pointed to the side exit. No, he won't. There's a maintenance stairwell behind that panel. Jeff blinked. When did they put that in? Jason smirked faintly. During the renovation last year. Nobody uses it because it's cramped and dark as hell. But it leads straight to the archive level. Emily moved first, pushing the supply cart to reveal a narrow metal door, painted the same color as the wall. Marcus stared. I thought that was a utility closet. It is, Jason said, with a staircase inside. The pounding at the front door grew louder. More aggressive. More unhinged. Daniel's voice rose. Open this door, or security will force it. Last warning. No more time. Jason pushed the maintenance door open. Cold air drifted out, stale, dusty, untouched. Go, he instructed. The interns hurried in first. Marcus followed, nearly tripping. Jeff helped Emily through, then looked back at Jason. Jason, come on. But Jason didn't move yet. He walked to the front door and whispered through the wood. Daniel, we'll talk later. Then he turned and slipped into the stairwell, closing the panel door behind him just as something heavy slammed into the main door of Office D. Descent into the dark. The stairwell was narrow, poorly lit by a single flickering bulb overhead. The metal steps creaked under each footfall. The group moved in silence, breaths shallow, nerves frayed. Riley whispered, "Do you think he knows we're gone?" Jason answered grimly, "He will in about 30 seconds. Emily tugged Jason's sleeve. "Why the archive? Why not leave the building?" Jason shook his head. "Because the moment we step outside, building security will flag our badges. Daniel controls the HR system. He controls badge access. He controls security logs." Emily swallowed hard. "So we're trapped." "For now," Jason said. "But we have something he doesn't time. The archive level is huge. Maze-like. We can hide long enough to figure out our next move." Marcus whispered, "If they catch us, it's over." Jason didn't argue. He simply kept moving. Down one flight, then another, then another. Each step pulled them deeper into the building's forgotten bones. Behind them, faint echoes traveled down the stairwell, the sound of the office door being smashed open. Daniel had found the room empty, and he wouldn't be happy. The archive. The staircase ended in a concrete landing with a rusty steel door labeled in faded letters. Archive B12. Authorized access only. Jeff brushed the dust from the handle. Looks sealed shut. Jason stepped forward and twisted the latch. To his surprise, the door opened with a groan. The room beyond was massive, an enormous cavern of old production equipment, broken lights, outdated props, script shelves, and rows of data drives that hadn't been touched in years. The air was cold, thick with dust, and the scent of forgotten history. "This is perfect," Jason said. "No cameras, no sensors, no badge tracking. It's like the ghosts of old productions are giving us cover." Emily managed a weak smile. "Let's hope the ghosts are friendly." They stepped inside. Jason pulled the door shut behind them. The sound of the latch locking echoed through the huge room. The truth begins to unravel. They gathered around an old prop desk in the center of the room. Jason took a deep breath. "Okay, now tell me what HR said to each of you." "Everything. I need to understand how deep this is." Riley nodded and spoke first. "When I tried to report her shoving me, HR told me I misinterpreted a stressful moment. They said Meghan was under pressure and that it was my job to adapt." Emily spoke next. "They said I was being overly sensitive to tone. That actors sometimes need to assert dominance to stay focused." The interns shared a glance, then one said, "They told us to drop it, or our internships would end early." Jason felt anger rise in his chest like a tidal wave. HR wasn't just failing them. They were protecting someone and punishing the victims. Jeff crossed his arms. "Let's be real," he said. HR protects the studio, not the staff. They saw the complaints as risks, not warnings. Marcus nodded. "That's why I brought you the footage. Because someone had to see the truth. Someone who wouldn't shred a file or pretend it didn't happen." Jason rubbed his temples. "So HR is compromised. Daniel is compromised. And Meghan, she's protected by both." Riley's voice trembled. "Jason, if we go against them, they'll ruin us." Jason looked around the room, at their frightened faces, their trembling hands, their exhaustion and pain. "Maybe," he said softly. "Or maybe this is the moment we stop letting fear win." Emily stepped closer. "But how? They control everything." "No," Jason said firmly. "Not everything." He reached into Emily's pocket and retrieved the 2 USB drives. "These," he said, raising them, "are bigger than any executive, bigger than any HR department, bigger than any cover-up." Marcus nodded. "This is proof." Jason shook his head. "This is leverage." But before he could continue, a loud metallic clang echoed from outside the archive door. Everyone froze. Riley whispered, "Was that?" Another clang. Closer. Heavy footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Jason's heart thudded. They'd been found. Emily clutched Jason's arm. Jason, what do we do? Jason moved silently toward a row of shelves, motioning for everyone to follow. The footsteps grew louder. Then a voice echoed through the metal door. Jason, open up. Daniel. He had found them, and the door handle began to turn. Jason pressed himself against the dusty metal shelves, trying to make himself as small as possible. Every muscle in his body was tense, every nerve screaming. Behind the locked archive door, Daniel rattled the handle again, sharper this time, his voice echoing like a predator circling its prey. Jason, open up. You don't get to hide forever. The interns trembled, Emily's hands were sweaty, and Marcus's jaw was tight. Each of them knew the stakes. If Daniel got in, if Daniel found the drives. Everything, the evidence, their leverage, their safety, would vanish in seconds. Jason swallowed, heart hammering. This was it. The moral crossroads he'd been running toward ever since Emily had handed him the first USB. He could run. He could hand over the drives. He could do what the studio wanted and pray that somehow Meghan, Daniel, and the HR apparatus didn't destroy everything. Or he could fight, not with weapons, not with threats, with truth, with evidence. With the only thing the powerful feared, exposure. Jason looked around the cramped archive, at the rows of dust-covered equipment, broken lighting rigs, forgotten props, and the ghostly hum of the building's air ducts. It all felt like a metaphor, history forgotten, decisions unaccounted for, moments that once seemed insignificant now stacked against them. He inhaled slowly, trying to think. If I hand them over, they win. They control the narrative. They destroy these kids. They erase the truth. And I lose my integrity. He could feel the weight of his own choices pressing down on him, heavier than any stack of props, heavier than any studio executive's threats, heavier than the fear in Emily's eyes. Jason's thoughts went back to Emily. She had trusted him. She had risked everything by recording Meghan, by keeping the footage, by handing it over to him. She had believed he was the one person who would not just watch silently and nod along, the one person who would act. He glanced at Marcus, who was shaking slightly, face pale, hands gripping the dusty edge of a prop desk. The IT guy had already put himself at risk by handing over the drives. He had defied studio protocol, bypassed hierarchy, and trusted Jason to do the right thing. And then there were the interns, terrified but now emboldened, whispering fragments of their stories. Riley had detailed every intimidation, every shove, every whispered threat. Emily had confirmed the malicious patterns, the consistent targeting. And through it all, the room vibrated with a truth they couldn't keep secret anymore. Jason's hand found the USB drives tucked into Emily's pocket. He held them like fragile lives. And in a way, they were. Because these drives contained more than evidence of misconduct. They contained the power to change everything, to bring accountability, to stop abuse in its tracks. But at what cost? He thought of Daniel pounding on the door, of Meghan's likely rage if this ever reached her, of the possible legal storm that could rain down on him, of the career he might ruin, the studio that could blacklist him, the wrath of the most influential forces in Hollywood. And then the interns' faces flickered in his mind, their trembling hands, their fearful glances, their whispered confessions. Jason clenched his jaw. Sometimes, doing the right thing is the hardest path. Sometimes it is the one that seems most impossible, most dangerous, most consuming. Yet here he was, and the door handle rattled again. The reality of choice slammed into him. Run, hide, submit, or stand, expose, risk everything. Jason made his decision, not with words, not with speeches, with action. He motioned for Emily to step forward. Check the cameras on the old maintenance stairwell, he whispered. They might not have monitored it in months. Emily's eyes widened. Check them? You mean now? Yes, Jason said. We need to know if anyone is following us. If Daniel has someone watching. Emily moved quickly to an old security monitor tucked behind a stack of abandoned lighting equipment. She flipped switches, pulled cables, adjusted dials. The screen flickered. Static hissed. Then, a grainy black and white feed appeared. The stairwell, empty. No one was there. Jason exhaled. Good. For now, he muttered. He turned to the group. We're not giving anything to Daniel. We're not giving him the drives. We're not letting them destroy the truth. Period. Riley swallowed hard. What if they break the door down, they asked. What if they find us? Jason felt a cold chill, but his voice was firm. Then we adapt. Then we hide. Then we survive. And when the time is right, we strike back with the one thing they can't take from us, the truth. Emily swallowed, nodding, her face pale but resolute. Marcus shifted, finally meeting Jason's gaze. Even Jeff, usually calm, exhaled slowly, tension flowing out in a single line. Jason felt the gravity of the moment settle on him. The moral choice wasn't hypothetical anymore. It wasn't a question in the back of his mind. It was real, immediate, dangerous, and terrifying, because taking this path meant everything would change. Nothing would ever be the same again. Not his life, not the staff's, not the studio, not Meghan, not Daniel. Jason's eyes scanned the archive, flicking over forgotten props, dusty cameras, stacks of scripts, silent witnesses to decades of Hollywood chaos. Here, in this forgotten chamber, he realized that history had a way of repeating itself if no one spoke up. And now, he would speak and act, even if it meant stepping into a firestorm he could not yet imagine.